Traders, first of all, let me congratulate you on taking the very first step to elevate your trading to the next level by getting yourself a copy of the Apex Sniper indicator, right? So this is a strategy session. I'm going to take you through on how I actually developed the strategy and what was at the back of my mind when I was developing the indicator, how you can use it literally the same way that I'm using it, and also let you know about future updates that are coming to the indicator and how you can be able to get those future updates without any additional costs, right? So first of all, once you have installed the indicator, you're just going to drag and drop it to your chart, right? And just leave the default settings as they are, right? Make sure that when the indicator is initialized, it just has the best settings that you need in order for you to trade the way you are supposed to trade with the indicator, right? And for those of you that want to enable notifications, just scroll to the bottom and then you can select which one of the notifications you want to activate based on the information that is going to be shared in this session regarding the strategy to using the indicator. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to change this number to 25, but you literally just need to leave it at 2, right? So that it shows you only the recent 2 days. But if you want to back test and maybe refine the strategy to best suit the way you trade, you can maybe put 25 or whatever amount of days that you want to use for back testing, right? So I'm going to load this to the NASDAQ because this is one of the charts where I use the indicator the most, right? So just on this other window, I'm going to load in the NASDAQ again because we use 2 confirmation methods, right, in order for you to ensure that you are using the indicator at the best way possible, right? So in this case, for this one, we are going to load a default indicator called the Bollinger Band. Not completely sure about the pronunciation, but it's either the Bollinger Band or the Bollinger Band. And also for this one, just leave it at default settings, right? After loading the Bollinger Band into the charts, you are going to go back to the main window with the Apex Sniper indicator, right? But before we jump into the strategy, let me tell you about one of the best advices that I was given, right, when it comes to trading. So for example, if you had a Rolls Royce, right, which would be a car that you hold dearly to your heart, right, and would probably be the highest valued item that you own. So when you check the weather focus, right, you definitely would not want to drive your Rolls Royce when there is a rain focused, right, or when there is a storm focused, right? The same thing applies to trading. You always want to trade at the best market conditions. In this case, like I just mentioned, with your Rolls Royce, you would just want to drive it when like the sun is out and the surface is dry, right? When the driving conditions are the best. Treat your capital the same way, right? Only trade when the market conditions are the best. When you see signals conflicting, do not trade, right? When maybe there's like high volatility news, don't expose all your capital to risk, right? So you can just choose to trade maybe, let's say, 1/3 of your account when there's certain high volatility news, right? So while mentioning that and while speaking about the best weather conditions, it is also very important to mention that I have been experiencing the highest accuracy trading with this indicator on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? Wednesdays, I never use the indicator. I don't trade on Wednesdays, right? Especially when it comes to NASDAQ. So on Wednesdays, I stay out of the market. So on Thursdays, I would check the trading conditions. If there's no high volatility news, there's no conflicting signals, I would then trade on Wednesdays and Thursdays, right? But definitely on Mondays and Tuesdays, if there's no conflicting signals, which hardly really happens, right? While speaking about the best trading conditions and driving conditions, it is also very important to mention as well that I normally would trade between 2:30 to 4:30, right? So I would ignore every signal, any other signal that I see in the market. Doesn't matter how enticing it would look, I would ignore that signal. So I'll trade from any time from 2:30 to 4:30. Even if I see a signal after 4:30, I'm not going to take that signal, right? As you have seen in the ad video, right, the indicator is going to show you the BNR liquidity sell zones and BNR liquidity buy zones, right? And I'll show you how to use these zones, right, to also avoid situations where you are having a breakout like this, right? And hopefully when looking back into this trade, you will see why this kind of happened, right? And you will know how to trade situations and conditions like this, right? So the first signal that I would, before we do that, it is very important to note that all this analysis, right, on the Apex Sniper indicator as well as on this Bollinger Band, all the analysis is done on the 30 minutes time frame, as you can see also on these other pairs using the 30 minutes time frame, right? So the first strategy to use the indicator is literally just following the structure of the indicator, right, when trading indices, and specifically for this demo we are going to demonstrate on NASDAQ 100, right? So I will reiterate that use the 30 minutes time frame and make sure that you are trading during the New York session. So in this case, you are going to start your analysis from 2:30 p.m., right? And then you don't take any other trades after 4:30 p.m., right? So like I said, you would then use the basic structure of the indicator where you would buy, right, when the indicator is at the BNR liquidity buy zone, or sell when the indicator is at the liquidity sell zones, right? And when you are looking for a buy or sell signal, right, wait for the indicator to touch the line here at the bottom, right? Most of the time I don't like taking trades when the indicator is like on the broken line, right? So but if you want to risk it, you can just take like a small trade here. And for example, if you would have taken this one, it would have hit like your first take profit and then just reverse to the line that I highly recommend, the solid line, right? For the buy, this is the solid line, and it is also labeled D1 S2 for those of you that want to enable the alerts, right? You need to say you want the indicator to alert you when it reached the levels based on their level code, right? For example, as I've said, this one is D1 S2, right? And the same thing for the cells, right? I don't recommend taking the trade on the broken lines. You have to wait for the signal to hit the solid line there at the top, right? And for some of you might say this would have been a perfect signal, but as you can see, this one was right after our trading time, right? So focus on from 2:30 p.m. This one was at 15:35, right? The drawdown was not even that much here, right, before it shot all the way up there, right? And you can see the risk to reward ratio is quite very good. So some of you might think that in this case I could have been spiked, but let me show you that since I'm using these confirmation signals from the Bollinger Band, right? So a basic explanation of the Bollinger Band is that with the Bollinger Band, when the market touches at the bottom, it will go up, and then when there's a touch at the top, it will go down, right? And remember, this is very important to note that this strategy that we're speaking about right now, it is the NASDAQ strategy, right? So let's look at the time where I got the signal, or where the market was starting to go back into the Bollinger Band. So this would be 1605, right? So this is 1605, right? Let's go now then to the sniper. When you check, so at 15.35, I would have not traded when there was this spike, because if you look at this, right, the market was even outside of the Bollinger Band, which means that it was really not safe for me to trade at around 14 and 14.35, right? But at 16.05, I got the signal that the market is about to go up, right? So let me go back in here at 16.05. So 16.05 would start from here, right? And as you can see, 16.05 went up to this point. So let me remove that. So it's this candle that opened at 16.05, and as you can see, it went all the way up and got resisted here, went back, right? Which is why I recommend you use these lines as your take profit levels. As you can see, in this case, it went up to this point, then there was a rejection, which you could have taken your profits, right? And even in this case here, it seems to have been some sort of resistance, right? And you could have taken profit there, this zone as well. And if you want to hold up to this zone at the top, you would have held. But then now, some of you that think you could have taken this signal, the answer is no, you would have not taken this signal. And what is the reason for that? The main reason is that this is outside of our trading times, so I would have not taken this signal. Look at the second way to trade, right? When the market is in between the zones, right, and within our trading times, for example here, right? So this would be, let's see, this is like 14.35, for example, right here, right? How would we have known that maybe we need to buy from this point, right? So let's just confirm the date from this. This is 0611, right? Let's go now to the Bollinger Band. What's the date there? Let's confirm it again. So it was 0611. All right, let's go back here. Check 0611 on the 11th. Right, here is the 11th. Let's check the time where we are supposed to trade at, right? So that's between 2:30 from around this time, right? So you won't always get this signal, right? So that's why there is the Bollinger Band as the third confirmation. That's why we have 3 confirmations. So if you look at this time from 2:30 from this time, right, the market is rested at the bottom line of the Bollinger Band, which means that we are expecting a push up, right? So now when we come back in here to this, right, so we want to check, is the market rested on the green zones, right? And as you can see here, so these dotted ones are usually not the strongest levels, right? So most of the time I would say ignore them, right? Wait for the market to come to the solid levels, for example here, and this was around 4:30, right? And the market rejected from this point and it started shooting up, right? And as you can see, even in this case as well, just right after this, the market shot up. So that is the second way you can use the strategy, and that is vice versa for the sales as well. So you would look at these levels. So for some of you that may think the indicator missed here, it really didn't miss, because this is outside of our trading time zone, because we trade from 2:30. From 2:30 we look at the setups, but we start executing from like 3:30 from that time, right? You're also going to see when you start using the indicator that the best signals are like after 3 p.m, right? So here this was really not a miss, right? Because it just showed you like the level, the zone at which the market is going to range for the day. Please pardon me for making this video so long, right? I just wanted to make sure that I cover everything that you may need to successfully execute the strategies with this indicator, right? So this is to also eliminate when you are doing back testing to think that the indicator would have failed in this case, which is not the case. You would have taken the trade from here during like your trading times, right? The recommended trading times, and you would have went out at this position, right? So when you see these levels where the indicator seems to kind of breaking out or out of the zones, right? It's really not always the case. As you can see, even this one got resisted here and seems to have broken the zone. So it's not that the strategy has failed or the indicator has failed, right? So most of the time this will show you the zones and the levels that you have to trade within on the specified date, right? So right now let's move on to currencies. And now on to the last part, currencies, right? So I need you to pay attention to these currencies that are in here and the specific indices that are in here. I'm going to post the screenshot in a bigger view so that you get to see the currencies that you should be trading using the indicator. So you are going to follow a similar approach, right? With when it comes to currencies, right? But with currencies, you are welcome to take the trades when the signal reaches the dotted lines, right? And just use very good risk management, right? So also, even in this case, as you can see, for currencies, you'll see that most of the time the indicator will reverse on the zones, like the BNR zones, right? So for example, this one, if we can look at the time, this one would have been like from 10:30 and this one would have been from 18:30, right? When it comes to indices, we don't specifically trade from 2:30 to 4:30. So you can trade at whatever time that you are comfortable with, right? As long as the indicator meets the conditions, especially for the BNR zones, right? I would say focus mostly on the BNR zones, or if you want to trade these zones as well. As you can see, this one had a huge sell, right? You can use this in conjunction with the Bollinger Band as in the previous videos, right?